Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very special Prog Report interview. As you can see, we have two very special guests. Neal Morse, welcome back, my friend. Again, we just came off Cruise to the Edge. We can chat about that a little bit and other things. But of course, we have the great Chester Thompson as well. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Good to be here.
So we're here, of course, to talk about this, which I just got
Yeah.
in advance vinyl here. The Cosmic Cathedral, which is the new debut album that you guys have done with your two friends, Phil Kagi and Byron House, and two singles that have been out so far. I'm sure people have heard are just awesome. It's really cool stuff. I mean, Neil, being a longtime fan and listener of your music, it kind of still sounds like what you do, but then it doesn't, and I think maybe that's what you were trying to do with this. I mean, is that where this started? Was with some of these ideas, or did it start with first you meeting Chester? I guess we can jump right in, but how did
Mhm.
this whole thing get going?
Well, first of all, I want to say the label must like you better than us because we don't have the vinyl yet,
Yeah,
right?
right. I was trying not to say anything.
Well,
No, we
there you
don't have
go.
it yet, but I'm sure it's on its way.
Yeah.
Um, well, it started with Steve Hackett, actually, um, who I just saw on the ship, by the way, Chester, and he sends his regards.
Oh, cool.
And
Oh.
he had heard, of course, about Cosmic Cathedral, and he's like, "Oh, I'm glad that, yeah,
Yeah, right.
because I had asked him for your email address after we saw each other at his show.
Ah, okay.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
and so he was asking about that. But anyway, yeah, Chester and I got together and had lunch and then jammed, and I think for me anyway, right away I felt like there was something special there.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah, we did it again out at your place, and it's with Jerry on hand, and it's like, yeah, it was pretty fun stuff.
yeah, yeah, we still have a lot more music to explore from those jams, I think.
Yeah, it's tricky, actually.
I mean, I'm just curious when you guys get together to do that. There's no plan yet of a record or what that's going to be, right? So is it just Chester, you start playing a beat, and Neil, you're just doing some stuff on the keys and just seeing where stuff goes? Were you recording things at the time just in case?
Well, the very first day we didn't really. The next time, Jerry Gidros was available to, really push faders and all of that. And then when we jammed with the other two guys, with Byron and Phil, again, Jerry was there to document it, and document it. And yeah, listening back, it was like, I mean, I remember even the moment of when we were playing, it just felt like, man, this is something special. This works, And then listening back was like, kind of confirms it because it's like,
Yeah, yeah, it's very
Yeah,
cool. It has a great energy about it.
it
Um,
felt really good in the room together. And it's just great to be in the room together in this day and age.
yeah, that's absolutely. So much stuff is remote these days. Yeah,
have you done a lot of remote work like that, Chester? Sending files and people send you things. I mean, is
yeah.
that
My last solo album was completely done that way. We did it during COVID, as a matter of fact.
right? Yeah.
So it was just back and forth. I send drum tracks out, and my friends in LA would write around what I sent back. I sent a couple of melodies as well, but for the most part, I just sent these drum tracks and different guitars and different saxophone players, and everybody's doing it in their home studios.
It's amazing, right? I mean, it all can sound so good that it
Yeah,
you can it can get by, which is awesome. Neil, you'd worked with Phil and Byron before, and you know, at what point did it come to you that these would be the guys to bring in this, and then when did the four of you start officially working together?
Well, really, it was a matter of prayer for me, um, mainly. I think right away, I think Chester and I talked about Phil,
hmm
and I don't know if it was Phil or you, Chester, that suggested Byron.
I'd
Was it?
mentioned Byron. I'd mentioned Byron as well. Uh,
Yeah.
Byron and I have actually had several occasions to just jam together, just the two of us. You know, we're both
Wow.
we're both big fans of doing that. So yeah. So
That's so cool.
yeah,
Yeah, and
definitely
I'd
brought him.
only I'd only ever worked with Byron with him playing stand-up bass, like
Right,
on
right.
orchestral kind of things.
Hmm.
I never heard him really play electric bass, only stand-up, I
Oh,
think.
okay, right,
Oh wow.
right.
Yeah, so but with Phil also chimed in like, "Oh yeah, Byron's the guy," and I prayed about it and felt had a really good feeling about it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so then it was like, "Yeah, let's get together, the four of us, last January, towards the end of the month."
Wow, yeah.
Yeah,
That's when it all started, yeah. You know,
yeah.
because I remember pretty cold out when we started, and by the time we got done, it was blazing hot outside. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's man. I mean, of course, his resume, Byron. I mean, his resume is outstanding. Which speaks to his level of playing. But he's incredible on the record. Just
Yeah,
just
and really
really awesome.
fun. You know, I
Mhm.
he was so funny and
Yeah, it's true.
yeah, it was a lot of laughs and we really
I'm just thinking back to searching for a group name, and he came up with some hilarious stuff.
I saw that one clip that came. Yeah, I forget what he said, but it was really funny. That's a good
yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Um,
he was just a lot of fun throughout and
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that about him. I'd only done these little string sessions. You know, you find out so much more about people when you really get in there and spend time together and that's one of the great joys also of making
Mhm.
records and especially this one.
how much of this music was sort of improvised, or throughout while you were putting stuff together?
Quite a bit of it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'd say at least 75%. Neil was great at organizing it and bringing in, sort of making sense of it all. And as far as, but the things that the ingredients, the raw ingredients, a lot, at least three quarters, if not maybe even a tiny bit more, because Neil contributed two fully written songs, but the rest of it we kind of fed off of each other. And I mean, I gotta admit, when you first mentioned that this thing ended up being 38 minutes, the deep water suite, I mean, I'm like, really? But driving, it's like an hour drive from my place out to Neil's place, and so I listened to the entire thing that he put together, the vision he had of all the bits and pieces we'd done. And by the time I got there, I was all in. I mean, it was like, 'cause I got to hear it in its entirety, and I really, I couldn't fathom it. I just couldn't picture that. But it made so much sense when I heard it all together. It was like, okay, well,
Well,
you know,
you know,
it was
Neil's
great.
Neil's for the last, I don't know, quarter century been the master of the long prog epic. That's for sure. No, no
well, I
one,
get a
no
lot of
one does
help.
it better. Yeah.
I get a lot of help. Well, and Jerry Guidros was instrumental
Yeah, I
also.
wanted to ask about him. I know that he was
Yeah.
really involved in it. So yeah, talk about his involvement in it.
Well, there at one point I wasn't sure exactly, what to do with all the bits and pieces. And he was the guy that said, "Hey, listen to this jam. I've marked some things. Mark some more
Mhm.
stuff, and see if you can get in there and like kind of do your thing to develop it." And um, so Jerry was really key because he also gleaned out a lot of
Mhm.
things. And recently I found out a lot of groups work that way. The Marillion, what they do is they get together and they jam, and they have a guy that kind of culls out the really good
Mhm.
parts, and then they develop them, and
Cool, cool.
that's a lot of this record was done that way.
Yeah. Working with these guys, because you've worked with so many different variations of people. Chester, this can work for you as well. But how did this feel different working with these four people, Neil, for you than Neil Morse Band, Transatlantic, Resonance? I mean, did it have its own unique way of going about things?
Oh, totally. I mean, well, of course, every person is totally unique and differs from everybody else. So, and then if you get four or five guys that everybody's different than everybody else, I mean, um, Mike and Chester are very different people. Mike's a East Coast, very driven.
Mm.
Once he gets going, Mike takes a little while to get going, as you know, Roy. he's not a morning person.
Right.
Once he gets going, he's just like a and Chester would get here earlier, and we just kind of talk, and it was just a whole different vibe when we were all together. Very and in the way that the music's different too. It has more of a groove, a little more of a I don't know, just a different feeling to it, and I love it. I love Viva la Difference. It's
Yeah.
great to do different things, and it brings a freshness and a feeling that is really special, I think this album does.
Totally. Chester, for you, talk about that. I mean, you've played with tons of different musicians. How was this group different for you in the approach and just in recording process?
Well, yeah, same thing for me though. I guess I've had different, totally different situation than this, but the people that the last solo album I did, like I said, I sent the tracks out to people that they had actually been my first band that under my own name. And in the beginning, we started out jamming, which led into writing, and similar in that we were all really good friends, and it just started out. I had the place to play, so everybody would come over and jam, and then it was like if you're the one that called everybody, you're sort of the leader by default almost. So
Right.
then it was like, well, let's get together and jam. Then it's like, hey, let's take this bit and do something. And then it's like everybody's looking at, well, when's there gonna be a gig? It's like, oh yeah, okay. So then I had to go out and start booking gigs, which was very new world for me, all of that stuff. But
Right.
it started similar roots, and we're dear friends to this day. And um, like I say, it was my wife and I had kind of just become Christians in those days, and one by one, everybody ended up becoming Christians in that band, and which was a whole, that it shouldn't make a difference, but it does. We were all on the same page, and in this situation, I have to say, I think the fact that we were all on the same page, and there were no egos involved. We just basically got together, and you know, I mean, I don't know how this stands up in the prog world, but for me, it was really important that in every jam session, every rehearsal, every recording session started with prayer. And I have to feel like that had something to do with the level of cohesiveness that happened, that we were all there. Um, Nobody was trying to, you know, take over. I mean, Neil had the direction, he'd done the arrangements, which was fantastic. But there was no, I don't know. This was one of the most it's wonderful in that it was one of the most egoless things I've ever done.
Right. No, that's amazing. I'm wondering if, well, because you said you met at a Steve Hackett concert, and of course, I think Neil, I know you're a big Genesis fan, and know those old records and stuff that you played on live and everything. How much chatting about old Genesis stuff sort of happened from that, Neil, or is that you get past all that kind of stuff? Because I would be geeking out on all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh, you mean when we're just hanging out?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, we talk about our histories. Chester's talked about a lot of things about
Yeah, not
his
a whole. I mean, it's
histories.
not like it wasn't like the center of attention
No,
or anything.
no, not at all. But
I mean, I've been in that situation before, and it gets a little awkward for me.
Right.
I'm I mean, I really appreciate it. It was a wonderful opportunity. I hadn't, that was, well, I guess my introduction, I suppose, to the prog world was early Genesis. I mean, there, before the hits,
Right.
and all that. It was all prog. And Zappa, I mean, musically, yeah, a lot of those elements, but it wasn't so much. It I don't know how still to this day, people are trying to figure out how to classify Frank stuff,
Just
I guess.
weird. Yeah.
But yeah, well, it was weird, but it was structural weird. I mean, the guy was amazing at what he did.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so for me, but at the same time, my natural wiring seems to be I'm always more excited about what's next, than I am, sort of. I mean, I was very surprised to find out how much weight that the early Genesis still carries in the prog world. I mean, I guess it's a level of respect, and it was. I mean, it was pretty significant stuff. I mean, you know, when I got there, we were still doing quite a bit of the early, the stuff with Peter and all. I
Right.
mean, not
Yeah.
with Peter, but some stuff from that era, which was amazing music actually. And so basically, like I said, I mean, I did a tour a couple of years ago with an Australian prog group, Unitopia,
Right.
and festivals and stuff. I had no idea how much, like I say, how much influence Genesis had on, or how much respect they still garnered from that era.
Yeah. I think, and you know what? To give him credit, I think Steve has a lot to do with that these
Oh,
days
absolutely. Oh,
with
goodness,
how
yeah.
he's carrying the
Yeah.
torch of the music, and
Mhm.
and keying on that classic era, which I think is amazing that he does. I do want to
Yeah.
ask you just one question, if I can, about that during your period of playing. Um, when the band, when you started with the kind of classic era playing, like you said, the stuff that Peter was on, and then moving into later on that when it became a little bit more pop oriented, which did you enjoy both as equally, or did you miss sort of the challenge of the odd time signature stuff,
Well,
or
I think every tour there was some prog included in every concert. I mean, some of the early stuff made its way, and all of the albums pretty much there was always at least one piece that
yeah,
was a real nod to their roots. And my opinion of the way they did approach the pop thing, I don't, a lot of fans felt like they sold out. I don't get that at all. I mean, I get why they feel that way, but being around and kind of somewhat on the inside, I felt like the musical integrity held up. They just learned how to, things just got shorter. I mean,
right,
basically, I think the quality of the music did not change. I mean, there were a couple of like sort of novelty pieces, of course, that were a bit silly, but for the most part, I think the level of writing and the amount of care and stuff, I never got the impression that they got together looking for a hit. They just never felt that way. They
yeah,
they didn't approach it that way at all.
yeah, just sort of happened. I mean, that a lot
So
of that
so for
era
me, yeah.
was, yeah, a lot of that era was older bands just trying to find their way, and Yes did the same thing, and
And because I wasn't involved in the recording process, I mean, for me, it was like the world's most glorious cover gig, I suppose. But at the same time, there was always a really interesting mix of music every concert. It was never just like the 5 minute hits.
yeah. So going back to the record a little bit, Neil, was there a particular part that was more challenging on it than others? A particular song or something that was stood out as tougher?
Hmm. Well, I suppose it would have to be Deep Water.
The
That was
long
the
epic.
long, yeah, the long one. Just
I
to,
would, I would say the first one you completed, Hearts, that one. I
The
hadn't
first song on the
I hadn't
album.
been in that world for a while, so that was like, and I refused to write things out. I mean, I've generally in the past I've always, sort of written charts out, but I was determined to not go there with this time, with this
hmm,
one. So for me, it took a little, I had to dig in a little deeper because I really wanted to memorize everything so I'd have the freedom of really getting involved in it as opposed to just looking at a page. But that one was more of a challenge for me than Deepwater, actually, I think.
Yeah, that opening track is just fantastic. That's when I had a chance to finally listen to the whole record. Was blown away by that one. Just a phenomenal song.
And that you wrote it when you were supposed to be on vacation was like, come on, dude.
Yeah, you haven't found out that Neil writes an album every week. You don't know that. That's
Well,
what he
I'm
does.
getting it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm getting that.
That's great.
yeah.
So I'm assuming. Well, Morse Fest is coming up, and you guys are gonna be playing on one of the nights. I guess that's the first full show, right? That'll be the first time.
Well, I'm hoping to do some kind of a warm-up
Hmm.
show somehow somewhere, but we haven't sorted that out yet. But
Right.
it'll be almost the first show.
Yeah. That's going to be exciting. I mean, are there plans, hopefully, to try and do a few more gigs at some point after? I know touring is just super hard with anything, but
Yeah.
are you hoping to do that?
Yeah, we're working on it, man. We're working on it. Yeah.
Nice. Neil, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the cruise. I never really get to talk to the musicians, and it's just happened, so it's sort of in our minds a little bit. But what is that an experience like that for you as an artist on there, and being immersed with all the fans and people coming up to you while you're eating and all that kind of stuff? How much enjoyment do you get from being on there? You've done it a number of times. I'm sure it's great, but just what's it like for you on there?
Well, the short answer is I love it. I feel so blessed. It's it's hard to imagine, I was just saying to my wife, and then I come home to my grandkids. And, sometimes I just feel like the Lord's just blessed me so mightily, to get to be on a cruise and then go out and play music you love with people that you love and be around all these people that you love. I
Mhm.
mean, it's become a pretty close community,
Yeah.
so like there's some people that we see, Sherry and I see every year, like, hey, you guys, I don't remember it, but we don't
Right.
remember your names, but we love you, you know. And, I'm on the beach. We took a taxi at one of the destinations over to a beach just to try to, kind of get away from the touristy areas.
Yeah.
And I'm out there and up walks like Rich Mauser and Jonas Reingold and the twins and, all these people from different parts of my life that I know. And we're just hanging out and talking. And it's just like, man, it's just great. It's so unique. And the
Yeah.
bands were also the music, I mean, Steve put it best. He's like, there's a lot of really good musicians on this boat. He leaned into me like it was a secret, and I was like, I know.
It's crazy. I know. And
Yeah,
the thing that blows your mind is like so many of them are rehearsed for like 2 days. These are bands that record an album over sending files. They never had a chance to meet. They rehearsed yesterday for the first time ever, and then they're playing the most complicated 20-minute songs. It's mind blowing. Like
yeah, yeah.
you can't
There were
believe it.
some very, very good. I felt like the bands were even more excellent this year,
Mm.
and I was
I
very
it was
impressed.
yeah. I thought it was one of the more enjoyable cruises. I do. I think it went off really well. Again, everybody, Cosmic Cathedral. I don't know if you can see it on here, but it's great. And we have here. This is the blue vinyl. I guess I'll do a little advertisement, but
Yeah, do a little advertisement, man. Yeah,
it's very nice.
and
And
we are almost sold out.
nice picture here.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
lovely. It's just an outstanding record, guys. Really, congratulations. I
I
love
played
it.
it for some of my jazz friends, and everybody's knocked out with this thing, man. It's
Yeah.
really amazing. It's like I mean, yeah, just the songs and the playing, and it's just something kind of cool, something special about it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Wish you all the luck with it, and we'll see you at Morse Fest. Looking forward to that. Have a great rest of your day. Great weekend, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right,
Okay,
guys.
Bye,
yeah,
Neil.
take
See
Good
care.
to
ya.
see you all. Good to see both of you,
All
man.
right,
Bye.
same here. See ya.
All right. God bless.
Bye,
Take
guys.
care.
Hey, thanks for checking out the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on all our socials and ProgReport.com, and we'll see you all again real soon. Thanks.